welcome back to Cait Straight Up. Today I'm going to share with you something very near and dear to my heart that I spent years learning and perfecting and enjoying in my nanny's kitchen, my family's Manicotti recipe. She was someone that was so special to me. I loved her so very much, and she was always pushing me to do what I loved. So I thought it would be really nice to do this recipe here on Cait Straight Up for her. This recipe is made entirely from scratch. From the sauce that's going to smother our noodles and cheese mixture to the noodles themselves or sleeves that's going to hold that delightful ricotta cheese filling. We're going to start here by mixing the ingredients to make our homemade noodles. In this bowl, there's 6 eggs whisked together. We're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of flour and 1 whole cup of water. We're then going to whisk this all again until there's no clumps. Might take a minute. You might have to use some muscle, but we're going to get all this whisked together here. So we've mixed up our batter and we look like we're clump free and ready to move on to the next step of our recipe, which is to spread very thin layers, one at a time, either onto a crate maker or a very hot pan stovetop. And then you're going to remove each one and repeat that step until you have enough shells for your manicotti. Now, where we're going to veer off a little bit here on this video is that I have this very handy 1960s crate maker passed on to me from my nanny herself that I'm going to use to make my manicotti shells. This thing, has survived it. I wasn't joking when I said I had to perfect this recipe, but have no fear, any crate maker or very hot pan stovetop can be used to create the perfect shell for your manicotti. So the goal again is to get very thin layers of this batter to be able to roll up into our tubular noodles that make up our manicotti. Now, whether you have a crate maker at home or a pan, you're going to do this step differently. I'd be happy to answer any questions on how to do it, but you're going to get to see a really cool process here of how I do it. So we're going to start by putting our batter down onto a plate so we can pick up very thin layers of it. So we're just going to spread it out like that. Put that off to the side there, and now we're ready. We're going to lightly dip our crate maker into our batter to pick up some batter like that. That's perfect. Now this thing's a little old, so it signals when it's done, and then you're going to lightly just peel it off, and that's one shell. This will be different if you're doing it on a stovetop or a traditional crate maker. The most important thing is to get the thinnest noodle possible. Back in the 1960s, they had to wait until the red light came on until they could dip. So we're ready to go. Nice big dip there. Holding it on up. Wait till the red light goes off. I'm not kidding you. Holding, holding, holding. We're off. And that's our second shell. And you're just going to continue along like that. Hopefully you have a way of doing it a little bit quicker than me, but I'm going to get going here and make some of our shells. We got that done. I hope that it took you a little bit less time to make your shells however you were doing it, either stovetop or with your own crate maker. It's now time to move on to the next step to get them stuffed and in a tray and ready to go in the oven. Everything's already cooked here, so we're going to only bake it at 350 degrees until our cheese is melted and until the sauce bubbles a little bit. We are now ready to stuff our tubular noodles with our ricotta cheese mixture. In this mixture, we have ricotta cheese, garlic powder, parsley, oregano, and basil, and a little bit of Parm cheese. We mix it all together, and that's going to be our stuffing. Before we get to the stuffing, we're going to go ahead and put a layer of our homemade sauce right along the pan so our manicotti doesn't stick and so that it's completely surrounded by delicious, tasty spaghetti sauce. This is my homemade sauce recipe right here. Not exactly ready to share that yet. but we're gonna make sure the whole pan is coated here before we put our tasty, tasty, tasty manicotti in there. And now it's time to stuff. We're gonna take one thin shell that we have at a time and lay it down on a plate. We're then gonna take our ricotta cheese mixture and spread it thinly onto the shell that you made. If yours is a little thicker than mine, no worries. I know they don't sell that fabulous crepe maker these days. So if it's a little thicker, have no fear, you'll be all right. And then we're gonna roll them up nice and tight and push them a little bit so the cheese moves to the ends. We're then gonna take that rolled stuffed manicotti and just place it right down in the pan. And then we're gonna take our next shell. They don't make it like they used to, huh? These things are thin. Lay that out. Get some nice thick layer of cheese. Don't worry about going all the way to the ends when you're spreading, because remember we have that step where we push it all out to the ends. Push that out there and right into the pan. You might lose some cheese when you're cooking, it's not a big deal. People tend to scoop this onto their plate anyway. So if you lose a little bit of your ricotta cheese, some people like to not put it so close to the end. Sometimes I try to remember that. Sometimes I just go ahead and spread it all on in there. You know, however you want to do it, just make sure that you push it down nice and flat so that it gets to the ends. I like to put mine roll side down. Again, personal preference. There's really no way to do this wrong as long as you have nice thin shells, a nice tasty spaghetti sauce, and some really good ricotta cheese mixture. Oh, I like cheese, so I like to make mine nice and full there. Away we go. Ooh, this one's gonna be a fatty. I'll save that one for you. And go ahead and squeeze them together. That's the best thing about recipes like this. The Italians, we're not too particular. We don't care if it all touches. We don't care about that either. We'll get that later. We don't care if, you know, we got sauce on it, cheese on it. It's all going to the same place. Looks like I'm gonna get about one more in my pan here. Get a nice layer here of the ricotta cheese. Again, there's parsley, oregano, basil, garlic, and a little bit of salt and pepper in this mixture. To your taste, of course. Roll it on up, push it down, and get it in there. So we got our stuffed tubular noodles all in our tray, and now all we have to do before we go into the oven is smother it with some sauce and some additional mozzarella cheese, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then we set that in the oven. Let it all cook in there. Let all the love and flavors and all the hard work you did making these homemade noodles come out. Once it's all melted, it's ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. Pour a little bit more sauce over top. And just spread it out. You want to be able to tell where your noodles are, so you don't want your manicotti drowning in the sauce either. So I like to leave the tips of mine out. Remember, the sauce is on the bottom too, so it's not like it's not touching it. That way you could just see where each individual portion is. Then this is just your typical mozzarella or Italian cheese mix, whatever you want to do. Sprinkle it all on top there. We all know I like cheese and garlic, so I'm going to do a nice portion of cheese here. I guess if you're trying to cut back, less cheese for you. All on top. Nothing goes in the oven without a sprinkle of parm. And again, we're going to bake this at 350 degrees in the oven just until the cheese is melted and the sauce begins to bubble a bit. We don't want this burning, we don't want it cooking too long, but just until it looks like everything's kind of gone together and it's ready for your plate. I'll see you when it's done, guys. I can't wait. Yay! Here we have it, our homemade, from scratch, everything, noodles, sauce, the whole thing, homemade manicotti. It looks delicious. I think you guys are gonna really, really love this recipe. If you have any questions, especially about the Cait maker, anything like that, please make sure to comment below. Tweet at me, at Cait Straight Up. Subscribe, you know it's important. Share with your friends. We have fun here, you guys know it. So I can't wait to see you next time. I can't wait to share more delicious recipes like this with you. And until then, guys, bye-bye. Give me like a thumbs down if I shouldn't continue. The next step is to spread very thin layer. Stop.
Sorry. Alright, we're recording.
Okay, so our back. That's hard. Not good. Are you over? It looks. It's not too hot. Oh my god, guys.